AITA for reporting my sister after finding her squatting in my rental condo? Here I am, Rachel, 34 years old, sitting in the living room of my condo in the Hyde Park neighborhood of Austin, reading an email from Human Resources over and over. The company wants to send me to Madrid, to their headquarters there, for 2 full years. 2 years. Sounds exciting, yes, but it also feels incredibly long when you think about everything you are leaving behind. I work for a large tech company. I have done well for myself, to be honest. It took a lot of work, but I landed a solid position, which is how I was able to get this condo with a mortgage 3 years ago. I took out a 20-year loan, so yes, I still have a long way to go. It is not a penthouse or anything fancy, but it is mine. Well, mine and the bank's, because I still have a ton of payments left. And precisely because of that mortgage, I could not afford the luxury of leaving it empty for 2 years. It would be foolish to keep paying the monthly mortgage and the homeowners association fees while the place just sits here, locked up and gathering dust. So I started thinking it over. I would rent it out. The rent money would cover the mortgage, and that is that. The first thing I did was call a lawyer I know. David had helped me with the paperwork when I bought the condo. "David, I need your opinion," I said when he answered. "I am going abroad for work for 2 years. I want to rent out my condo, but I want to do it right. I do not want any trouble with the Internal Revenue Service or with tenants who might refuse to leave later." He laughed as if I had said the most sensible thing in the world. "Look, it is great that you are thinking about it this way. You need a solid lease agreement, a security deposit, and inventory, everything spelled out. And yes, you have to declare rental income. It is not the end of the world, but do it formally. Keep your receipts, payments, maintenance records. Everything." That brought me to my next step. My condo was not in bad shape, but you could see the little details. A few scuff marks on the wall, the bathroom needed some repairs, and the kitchen could use a fresh coat of paint. If I was going to rent it out, I wanted to hand it over in good condition. I hired a crew that was recommended to me. On Monday, 3 guys showed up. The crew leader's name was Chris. "All right, what needs to be done?" he asked, looking around with a "this will be quick" expression. "The kitchen needs paint, the bathroom has some old tiles that need replacing, and here in the living room these walls are scuffed. Nothing major. I just want it to look clean like new." Chris stroked his chin. 2 weeks tops. "But I will tell you what, you do not want to be here while we work. There is going to be dust and noise, and if you stay it will drive you nuts." And that is when I called my friend Jessica. Jessica lives over in Westlake Hills, in a large house she inherited from an aunt. She has always been one of those friends who does not ask too many questions. She just opens the door for you. "Jessica, can I crash with you for a couple of weeks? They are going to be working on the condo." "Of course, Rach," she said without hesitation. "Come whenever you want. The guest room is ready." I packed some clothes, my laptop, the essentials, and drove over to her place. The work started the next day, and thank goodness I was not there. Whenever I stopped by to supervise, the noise was brutal. Drills, hammers, the smell of paint. The whole building smelled like a construction site. But the closer my departure date got, the more one particular issue felt like a lump in my throat. My parents. My parents are intense. They get involved in everything, always offering advice that is really a command in disguise. And if you do not do what they want, they get offended as if you have disrespected them personally. They live in Round Rock, in a big house they bought when I was in high school. They also own a condo they rent out as an investment over in Pflugerville. That has always been a sore spot because my sister hates it. And then there is my younger sister, Emma. Emma is 26 and lives with my parents in Round Rock, which does not surprise me. They have always treated her like she is made of glass. They coddle her, make excuses for her, and applaud her for every little thing. For the last 6 months she has been with Ryan, her boyfriend, the typical guy who is figuring things out, always about to start something big. And yes, before you ask, Emma does not have a steady job. She has had odd jobs here and there, but nothing stable. And when she was in college, I paid for a good chunk of it because my parents swore they could not afford it. At the time I did it because I wanted to, because I thought, well, she is my sister. But over the years it became crystal clear that in our family I was the problem solver, and everyone else just got used to it. Anyway, 2 weeks before I was set to leave, I finally worked up the courage. I called my mom. "Hi, Mom. Can I come over for dinner tonight?" I have something to tell you all. Of course, sweetie, she said immediately, her voice sweet. I will make your favorite. And your dad, Emma, and Ryan will be here. Great, everyone together. I got there at 6 with a bottle of wine for dinner. We sat down. My mom made her famous pot roast with potatoes and green beans. It was good, I will admit. Emma spent almost the entire dinner glued to her phone. Ryan, same story. He acted like he owned the place, relaxed, smiling, and offering opinions as if he were part of the furniture. Halfway through the meal, my mom dropped the question. So, Rachel, what did you want to tell us? I took a deep breath. I was offered a position in Madrid. I am moving there for 2 years to work at the headquarters. There was a second of silence. My dad looked at me with that serious face he puts on when he is trying to seem calm. 2 years, he asked. 2 years. It is a big project. A good step for my career. My mom leaned toward me. Tell us more. I explained what I could. The responsibilities, the timeline, that it was a real opportunity. And as I spoke, I saw Emma roll her eyes, just like she always did whenever I mentioned anything about work. My dad smiled. Well, that is something to be proud of, honey. You have earned it. Thanks, I said. And there is something else. I am going to rent out my condo while I am away. I cannot just leave it empty for 2 years. I am still paying the mortgage and the homeowners association fees. At that moment, the atmosphere shifted. My parents looked at each other. It was that kind of married couple glance where they have a whole conversation without speaking. My mom spoke slowly, as if she were about to give me a brilliant idea. You do not have to rent it to strangers. I blinked. What? Emma and Ryan can stay there, she said, as if she were solving world peace. That way, you will know it is in good hands, and you will not have to worry about tenants who might leave the place a mess. Emma looked up from her phone for the first time all evening. Ryan smiled as if he had just been given a new car. I shifted in my chair. Well, if they want to rent it, we can discuss it. I was planning to rent it for $2,400 a month, maintenance included. For you guys, I can let it go for $1,920 also with maintenance. That is a 20% discount. It was as if I had uttered a profanity. My mom's face went pale, then flushed red. Are you serious? She blurted out. You are going to charge your own sister rent? I looked her straight in the eye. Mom, I have a mortgage. The whole point of renting it is to cover that payment while I am gone. It is not a whim. But she is your family, she raised her voice. Emma finally chimed in. Wow, Rachel, how dare you? Seriously, you are so selfish. I cannot believe you will not let us stay there. My face flushed hot, not with embarrassment but with anger. I do help this family, I said. Who paid for a good part of your college when you guys said you could not? Who lends you money when you ask? My dad cleared his throat. That is different, honey. Different how? I shot back. Emma leaned toward me as if to give me a lecture. Because you earn a lot more than we do. You can afford it. You could let us live there without charging us. I felt my temples throb. Emma, I earn more because I work and I still have bills. I have a mortgage. My dad threw in another argument as if it were his trump card. We are saving for your sister's wedding. I looked at him in disbelief. And I need income from my mortgage. Why is your reason valid and mine is not? Emma slammed her hand on the table. Because we are your family. Besides, I do not want to live in the condo you guys rent out. It is super far away and I do not even like the area. Your condo is in Hyde Park, close to everything. It is nice. It is the one I want. The words just came out of me without thinking. So you want the best one but you do not want to pay for it. Neither you nor Ryan has a steady job, Emma, and yet you want it for free. Ryan tried to smile like a mediator. Rach, do not get upset. We will take care of it. Really, we will not cause any trouble. I am sure you do not mean to cause any trouble, I said dryly. But I am not giving away a condo. I am renting it. The silence hung heavy in the dining room. My mom spoke to me with a coldness that hurt more than any shouting. I think you can go now. I looked at her and instead of fighting I stood up. Perfect. I grabbed my purse, walked to the door and left. Nobody stood up. Nobody followed me. Nobody said, "Take care." I left like an uncomfortable guest. On the way back to Jessica's place, I was shaking, not from fear, but from rage. When I walked in, Jessica was in the kitchen. "How did it go?" she asked, then saw my face. "No, what happened?" I told her everything word for word. She shook her head as if confirming something she already knew. "Rachel, it is awful to say, but your parents have always favored Emma. They forgive her for everything, and they expect you to solve everything." I sat down and covered my face with my hands. I know, but it still hurts." Jessica made us some tea. We talked late into the night. She reminded me of every time they had asked me for a favor that was actually for money, every time I had to give in for your sister's sake. "You are doing the right thing," she told me. "Do not let them guilt trip you." "I am not going to give in," I replied. "But God, it is exhausting." The next 3 days were silent. Not a single call, not one text. Part of me was relieved, and part of me was sad that they did not even try to understand. On the 4th day, I drove to the condo to check on the renovation progress. They were finished. Fresh paint, the bathroom fixed up, the kitchen looked clean. They even changed a few small things that made everything look better. Chris had done a great job. When they left, I sat in the empty living room and opened the rental applications I had received. There were several, but one couple looked very promising. Brian and Melissa, both with stable jobs, proof of income, references from previous landlords, and clean credit checks. They seemed calm and serious. I called them that same day. "Hi, Melissa. It is Rachel about the condo for rent. Would you like to see it? I can be there the day after tomorrow at 2. "Yes, of course," she said. "We are very interested." "Perfect. I will text you the address." 2 days later, I arrived a few minutes early. It was a weekday. The traffic was not as bad at that hour as in the morning, but in this city you never know. I waited outside the building. The security guard gave me a nod, the typical "I see you." They arrived at 2 o'clock sharp. They looked like professional people in their mid-30s, well-dressed and polite. We went up in the elevator to the 3rd floor. I was telling them about the area, how the supermarket is close, that there are restaurants and public transport. "That sounds great," Brian said. "Yes," I replied. "I love living here." We got to my door. I took out my key. "Well, this is it." I opened the door. And that is when my world went dark. Emma was sitting on my couch in sweatpants and a t-shirt, as if it were a Saturday afternoon. Ryan was in the kitchen making a sandwich as if that kitchen belonged to him. In the corner by the window were suitcases, and I saw Emma's clothes thrown over a chair. I felt a punch to the gut. "What is this?" The words escaped me, out of control. Brian and Melissa stood in the doorway, confused and uncomfortable, not knowing whether to back away. Emma looked up unfazed. "Oh, hi, Rachel. You could have knocked." I stared at her in disbelief. "Knocked? This is my condo." Ryan turned around, sandwich in hand. "What is up?" he said, as if it were completely normal, and even nodded at Brian and Melissa, as if they were the ones visiting. Melissa spoke softly. "I am sorry, is this a bad time?" "No," I said, but my voice was already rising. "It is not a bad time. The thing is, these people have no business being here." Emma stood up. "Yes, we do. My mom gave us the key yesterday. We are going to live here while you are away." I froze. "What?" "The spare key you gave her when you bought the place," she said. "Calm down. She gave it to us yesterday. We moved in last night." That sentence hit me with another truth. I had given my mom that key for emergencies, a leak, an earthquake, something. Not for her to hand out copies like it was a hotel. My hands were shaking. Melissa gently touched my arm. "Maybe we should come back another day." "No, wait," I said desperately, but I could already see on their faces that this had killed their interest. No one wants to get involved in someone else's family drama. "We will call you," Brian said politely. I knew they would not call. They left. Their footsteps faded down the hallway. I felt like a few doors even peeked open a little. In that building you can hear everything. I was left staring at Emma and Ryan, who were looking at me as if I were the one overreacting. "Get out," I said flatly. Emma crossed her arms. "We are not leaving. Mom said we could." Ryan nodded as if he were a judge. "And do not worry about the utilities. You can keep paying for those." You will not even be here anyway. The sheer audacity of it made my eyes sting, but I did not cry. I pulled out my phone and dialed my mom. She answered on the third ring. Mom, I said without a greeting. Did you really give Emma the key to my condo? Her voice turned defensive that I did nothing wrong tone. Emma needs a place to stay, and you are being very difficult about this. I thought if they just moved in, you would see how absurd it is to make her pay. Are you listening to me? I said. This is my condo. I did not give them permission. That is trespassing. Do not be so dramatic, she shot back. She is your family. My stomach churned. I do not care. They do not have permission and they just ruined a rental for me. The interested couple came, and they left because of this situation. My mom did not back down. You are exaggerating. Always so strict, so focused on money. That is when something inside me snapped. I hung up. Behind me, Emma was laughing. Did you see your face when you walked in? She was saying to Ryan like it was a hilarious joke. Priceless. I did not respond. I was not going to argue. I walked out of the condo, went down to the parking garage, and sat in my car, my heart pounding. I called 911. I need to report that there are people inside my condo without my permission, I said, my voice firm despite the tremor. I am the owner. They asked for my address, my name, and told me they were sending a patrol car and to wait in the lobby. They arrived in about 25 minutes. Sometimes it is fast, sometimes it is not. That day I got lucky. 2 police officers introduced themselves, Reynolds and Lopez. I explained everything as we rode up in the elevator. The work trip, my intention to rent, the argument with my family, the spare key. We got to my door. I opened it with my key. Emma and Ryan were still there, but they did not look so brave when they saw the police. What is going on? Emma asked, trying to sound confident. Reynolds spoke calmly but with authority. Identification, please. They gave it to him. Reynolds checked it, took notes, then looked at me. You confirm that you did not give them permission to be here? I confirm. I did not give them permission. Lopez turned to them. Do you have any document that authorizes you to be here? A lease, a letter, anything? Emma swallowed hard. My mom gave us the key. She has a copy. Reynolds pointed out without raising his voice. The owner is here, and she is saying she did not give you authorization. Therefore, you need to collect your things and leave. Emma's mouth fell open as if she could not believe what she was hearing. What do you mean, leave? You need to leave, Reynolds repeated. And that is when the situation escalated. Emma started saying very hurtful things to me, the kind of stuff that hurts even when you expect it. That I was a bad sister, that I was jealous of her, that I was ruining her life. Her voice was breaking, but it was not sadness, it was rage. She tried to approach me as if to confront me, and Lopez stopped her by taking her arm to calm her down. Ryan, instead of de-escalating, got involved. Let her go, he told the officer and grabbed his arm. It was the worst mistake he could have made. In seconds, both officers reacted. The confrontation turned physical, and both Emma and Ryan ended up restrained and in handcuffs. You are under arrest for trespassing and for interfering with the officers, Reynolds said, without yelling, without any drama. I just stood there watching the scene as if it were not real. My sister and her boyfriend, in handcuffs in my living room for entering my home without permission. They were led away down the hall. Emma was still in tears. Ryan was silent, clenching his jaw. Before they left, Reynolds asked me to accompany them to confirm some details. We went downstairs. They filed the report and explained something simple. The interference with the officers was out of my hands. That would follow its own course. As for the trespassing, I could decide whether to press charges or not. When I was finally alone, the silence crashed down on me. I sat on the couch and breathed. The condo smelled of their food, of their presence, of an invasion. There were clothes thrown around, suitcases, things in the kitchen. It took me 2 hours to shove everything into the suitcases as best I could. I did not do it with care. I did it quickly, angrily. I zipped them up and left everything ready. Then I called a delivery service to take the suitcases to my parents' house in Round Rock. I requested delivery with a signature and printed name upon receipt. I was not going to drop them off myself. I did not want to see their faces. While I waited for the delivery driver, I called a locksmith who had been recommended to me when I moved in. The building's security guard always said, "If you ever need one, call this guy." "It is Rachel from 3B, I said. "I need you to change the lock today." "I will be there in an hour," he replied, and he kept his word. He arrived, took out his tools, changed the lock in half an hour, and handed me a new set of keys. The key my mom had was now useless. While he worked, my phone would not stop ringing. Calls from my dad, from my mom, messages on text. I did not answer. When the locksmith left, I checked the messages. My mom was saying all sorts of things, not explicit insults but pure venom. That I was a bad daughter, that I was selfish, that I was destroying the family, that how dare I involve the police, that I had embarrassed them in front of the neighbors. I did not respond. That day, for the first time, I realized something with clarity. If I answered, I would be opening that door again. The next morning, Reynolds called just to inform me. "Your sister and the young man spent the night in custody. I am asking if you wish to proceed with the trespassing charge." I was quiet for a second. "Look," I said, "I do not want to press charges for trespassing, but the interference, I understand that is your case now." "That is correct," he said professionally. "Thank you." I hung up and stared at the wall. I was halfway through packing. I had work deadlines, travel arrangements, and on top of all that, I had lost Brian and Melissa because of the drama. I needed to sort out the rental and fast. So I called my friend Ethan, who works in real estate. "Ethan, I need your help," I said, straight to the point. "I am leaving for Madrid in a week and I have to rent out my condo. Now." "Seriously now?" "Of course," he replied. "Send me photos, details, how much you are asking, the terms. I will post it properly, handle the viewings and screen people. You just focus on your trip." That was exactly what I needed to hear. I spent the day taking photos in good light, making a list of the condo's features and clear conditions. Deposit, contract, no subletting, payment by transfer. I sent it all to Ethan. 3 days later, I was on a plane. That last week was a whirlwind. Madrid greeted me with that cold, dry air that wakes you up. The job was intense from day one. New hours, new meetings, people from all over the world. It was tiring, yes, but I also felt alive. And the best part came about 2 weeks after I arrived. Ethan called me. "It is done," he said. "I found a couple with everything in order. They are doctors, quiet. They signed the lease, paid the deposit. Everything is in order." I closed my eyes and finally let out a breath. "Thank you, Ethan. You have no idea what a weight you have lifted off my shoulders." From that month on, the rent came in on time. It covered the mortgage and the homeowners association fees, and I could breathe. For the first time in a long time, my life was working without my family's interference. For almost a month, my phone was peaceful. No calls, no messages, as if they had erased me from their lives. And honestly, I was fine with that. Until one day, my Aunt Patricia, my dad's sister, called me. She has always been the most reasonable person in the family, the only one who talks to you without trying to manipulate you. "Rachel, how are you, sweetie? Have you settled in?" "Yes, Auntie. I am good. Tired, but good." I could hear her take a breath, as if preparing for the topic. "Listen, I want to tell you something about Emma's wedding." I leaned back in my chair with that feeling of, here comes the drama. "Ryan's parents found out what happened at your condo," she said. "They found out the whole story because they had to pay to get him out of jail, and that is when he told his version and everything came out." I pressed my lips together. "And then?" "They were very upset," she told me. "Truly upset. They called your parents and told them they were ashamed, that people just do not do that Emma is far too spoiled." I let out a short, mirthless laugh. "And get this, they were going to pay for a large part of the wedding," my aunt continued. "They had already made reservations, paid deposits for the venue and catering. Well, they backed out. They said they are not contributing a single dollar. If they want to get married, they can pay for it themselves." I was silent for a second. "Seriously? Seriously," she repeated. "They said they are not going to reward that kind of behavior." I felt a strange mixture of feelings. It was not joy. It was like a kind of justice I had not asked for but that had arrived anyway. My aunt went on. "And that is where the story gets even more ironic. You will never believe this, but Emma went to your mom. begging her to let them live in the condo your parents rent out. I opened my eyes wide. And what did she say? She told her no. I could not help but laugh for real this time. Oh well, so my mom understands the concept of rent now. My aunt laughed too, but quietly. Exactly. And Emma went crazy. She screamed at her that it was not fair, that your parents were just as focused on money as me, and your mom could not stand to hear it. And what happened? They had a huge fight. Emma stormed out of the house, and now she and Ryan are living in a tiny studio apartment. They are barely making it, and are hardly speaking to your parents. I stared out the window of my apartment in Madrid, at the streetlights, and thought, of course. Now they feel what it is like. Your mom has been telling everyone that this is all your fault, my aunt added. That if you had been a better sister, none of this would have happened. An old anger surged in me, one I thought I had let go of. A better sister? I repeated. Auntie, I have given more than I ever should have. I know, Patricia said firmly. And I am telling you plainly, what they did to you was very wrong. Shameful. You do not owe them your life. That loosened something in my chest. And how are they doing for money? I asked, though I already had a good idea. Badly. Ryan picks up odd jobs, nothing steady. Emma got a part-time job at a store, but she hates it. She is constantly saying how unfair it is that she has to work when she should be planning her wedding. I snorted. And has Emma considered a full-time job? Oh, Rachel, you know her. She has never been one for consistency. We hung up after a while. I sat in silence for a long time, not because I missed the drama, but because it confirmed what I already knew. My family only sought me out when they needed something. 3 months later, Aunt Patricia called again. I have an update for you, she said, as if giving a report. Ryan's parents tried to patch things up with him, she explained. But they gave him one condition, that he apologized to you and try to repair the damage. Out of respect, they told him. I remained serious. And he did it, right? No, she said, and she sounded tired. He said he did nothing wrong, that you overreacted by calling the police. A cold anger washed over me. Of course. So his parents told him that until he takes responsibility, they do not want to see him. So now he has lost his family's support too. I leaned back on my couch. And they are fighting a lot, my aunt said. The stress, the money, the fact that there is no wedding, that there is no one to solve their problems. It is all taking a toll on them. Emma called your mom crying last week. She begged her to contact you to convince you to help them. And what did my mom say? I asked. She said she was not going to call you, that you made it clear you do not care about the family. I let out a humorless laugh. Good. Because even if she did call, I would not answer. 6 months into my time in Madrid, I was in the best place I had been in years. The work was demanding, but it was opening doors for me. I made friends. I learned to navigate a new city on my own. The rent kept coming in on time. The mortgage was getting paid. I was finally saving real money. And most importantly, my phone was no longer a chain tying me to the needs of others. My Aunt Patricia still called me every few weeks just to check in. I no longer even felt the urge to ask about Emma, not because I wished her ill, but because I understood that her choices were not my responsibility. One day during one of those calls, my aunt told me, I am proud of you, Rachel. In that house, they always expected you to be the one to fix everything. It was about time someone said no. I was quiet for a second, and then I spoke the unvarnished truth. I got tired, Auntie. I got tired of them seeing me as a walking wallet. And that is okay, she replied. You worked for what you have. No one has the right to take it from you. Not even if they share your blood. When I hung up, I stood in front of the window. Madrid was glowing with calm lights. I took a deep, guilt-free breath. My condo in Hyde Park was being taken care of, my bills were paid, and I was living my life without asking for permission. And that is when the whole idea clicked into place, no longer painful, just a simple truth. Sometimes, family is not the people who use the word family to make demands. Sometimes, family is the people who respect you, who support you without charging you with guilt, who understand that setting boundaries is not being a bad person. And sometimes, the healthiest thing you can do is to walk away from people who only look for you when they need money, favors, or a place to crash. Because if I learned anything from all of this, It is that love that obligates you is not love. It is control. I chose something else. I chose peace. I chose my life. And that decision for the first time felt completely my own. Comment. I've been thinking about this one for a while now. Setting firm boundaries with the people closest to you takes real courage. I've discovered that true self-respect comes from knowing when to say no. Kindness should never cost you your peace of mind. Taking ownership of your own well-being is the most responsible thing you can do. Learning to choose calm over constant drama has changed my life for the better. Healing begins when you release the need to fix everything for everyone else. You're allowed to protect your energy without feeling guilty about it. I hope this story inspires you to reflect on the relationships in your own life. Remember that your peace is worth every difficult conversation it takes to keep it. If you liked it, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.